So, so today we're diving into a powerful story from Acts 12 about leadership in times of crisis. It's about Peter being imprisoned and the early church's response, persistent prayer. What really stands out is how the church didn't panic or try to outsmart the system. Instead, they prayed.
Yeah, that's huge. And not just any kind of prayer, but earnest prayer. The Greek word ektenos here means intense, fervent, and persistent. It wasn't just a quick prayer and done. They committed themselves fully.
Exactly. And in a situation like that, you might expect the church to try and figure out a political strategy or just give up. But they didn't. And look at the outcome. Peter is miraculously freed from prison. It's almost unbelievable, but that's the thing. Prayer was the strategy.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. Peter was in maximum security, and yet he was able to walk out because of prayer. The church had no backup plans, no other resources, just their belief in God's power through prayer.
And the emotional intelligence here is key too. The church wasn't ignoring their grief over James's death or the fear of what could happen to Peter. They processed all that emotion together. Instead of isolating, they prayed as a community.
Right? And that emotional unity is what helped them stay focused. It wasn't just about feeling sorry for themselves. They channeled their fears and grief into a shared effort, building resilience through prayer. That's something leaders today can really learn from.
Definitely. And let's not forget about the logical intelligence here. Prayer wasn't just an afterthought. It was the most strategic thing they could do. They knew their best shot at changing the outcome was to go directly to God. That's some serious strategic thinking.
It's true. And it's interesting how we can sometimes forget that prayer isn't just a spiritual thing, but also a leadership tool. It anchors vision, builds community, and creates hope in impossible situations. I mean, the early church wasn't naive. They knew the odds, but they also knew that prayer could open doors no human effort could.
Exactly. Prayer became their primary resource, not a last resort. Modern leaders can learn so much from that. Instead of getting stuck in the what's next panic, they can go back to prayer, knowing that God's resources are limitless.
Yeah, and that perspective also ties back to spiritual intelligence. The church didn't just pray in desperation. They prayed because they trusted in God's sovereignty. They knew their mission wasn't dependent on their circumstances, but on God's eternal plan.
It's such a powerful reminder that leadership isn't about having all the answers or the best strategies. Sometimes it's about being willing to surrender to something bigger than ourselves, trusting that God's plan will prevail, no matter the setbacks.
Absolutely. And what I love about the end of Acts 12 is that despite all the loss, fear, and persecution, the word of God increased and multiplied. God's purposes were advancing, and it wasn't due to human effort. It was because of the power of prayer and dependence on God. That's where the real growth happens.
Yeah, and it's a great takeaway for modern leaders. Prayer-centered leadership isn't just about navigating through hard times. It's about seeing God's hand in everything, trusting Him to guide us even when things seem bleak.
So whether you're leading in a church, a business, or your family, the principles here are universal. When plans fail, when things seem impossible, you don't just keep pushing on your own strength. You go back to prayer, and through that, you find strength, resilience, and purpose.
Exactly. It's that simple, yet profound. Prayer transforms not only our circumstances, but also our leadership. And if the early church could pray their way through such a crisis, I think we can tackle whatever comes our way today, too.
Well said. So let's all remember, when leadership feels overwhelming, prayer is our greatest asset.
And that's all for today's episode. We hope you're inspired to lead with prayer, no matter what challenges you face. Until next time, stay faithful, stay focused, and keep praying.
See you next time. Don't forget to visit faith.tracy.com to learn more.